Welcome to Concrete Block, the podcast where we dive into the most pressing stories from around the world. I'm your host, Walter, and we're glad you're joining us today. We've got a fascinating and complex story to explore, coming out of Cameroon, a country in Central Africa. As we often do on this show, we'll be taking a closer look at the intricacies of global politics and how they impact everyday people. In Cameroon, the presidential election is just around the corner, and the situation is becoming increasingly uncertain. The current president, Paul Biya, has been in power for over 40 years, and his advanced age has raised concerns about what might happen if he were to pass away while still in office. Our guest writer, Maxwell Bone, has done an excellent job of breaking down the complexities of Cameroon's political landscape. According to his analysis, the ruling party, the CPDM, is facing a significant challenge from within, as some of its key allies have announced their own candidacies for the presidency. This development has the potential to significantly alter the balance of power in the country. One of the main issues at play here is the regional divisions within Cameroon. The country has a long history of tensions between the northern and southern regions, which are rooted in colonialism and disagreements over resource distribution. These divisions have been simmering for decades, but were temporarily subdued when President Biya co-opted northern leaders into his government. However, with the collapse of the CPDM's alliance with northern parties, these historical divisions are once again coming to the forefront. Many northerners feel that they have not seen sufficient progress or benefits from their support for President Biya, and are now demanding greater representation and power. As we consider the potential outcomes of this election, it's essential to acknowledge the risks of instability and conflict. If President Biya were to win another term and then pass away in office, the succession crisis that would follow could be immensely destabilizing, with far-reaching consequences for the country and the region. We'll continue to monitor this situation closely and provide updates as more information becomes available. For now, it's clear that Cameroon is at a critical juncture, and the choices made by its leaders and citizens in the coming weeks will have a significant impact on the country's future. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. We're diving into a complex and thought-provoking topic that's been making waves globally. A recent article has shed light on the state of democracy in the United States, highlighting concerns about erosion of democratic values and the potential impact on international relations. Now, it's essential to acknowledge that this is a multifaceted issue with various perspectives. The article suggests that certain developments in the U.S. have raised alarms among European leaders who are worried about the consequences of undemocratic practices being exported to their continent. These concerns include the influence of far-right groups, potential interference in elections, and the undermining of institutions. On one hand, some argue that the U.S. has a long history of democratic resilience and that its system of checks and balances can withstand challenges to its democratic foundations. They point out that state governments, courts, and civil society organizations are actively pushing back against objectionable federal policies and promoting alternative approaches. On the other hand, others contend that the current situation is more dire, with concerns about partisan polarization, online disinformation, and political violence contributing to a culture of silence and preemptive obedience. They argue that European leaders have a critical role to play in supporting U.S. democracy by working closely with state governments, civil society organizations, and promoting democratic values globally. It's crucial to approach this topic with nuance and balance, recognizing the diversity of opinions and experiences within both the U.S. and Europe. Rather than taking sides or assigning blame, we should focus on fostering a deeper understanding of the complexities at play and exploring constructive ways to address these challenges. As we consider the implications of this story, it's clear that the relationship between the U.S. and Europe is at a critical juncture. European leaders must navigate the delicate balance between maintaining economic and security ties with the U.S., while also safeguarding their own democracies against potential authoritarian contagion. The article concludes by emphasizing the need for European leaders to articulate the value of democratic principles and invest in their protection, both domestically and globally. This includes reducing dependence on the US, deepening the EU's internal market, and strengthening defense and technology capabilities. As we continue to follow this developing story, it's essential to prioritize fact-based analysis, respectful dialogue, and a commitment to understanding the diverse perspectives involved. By doing so, we can work towards a more informed and nuanced discussion about the state of democracy in the US and its implications for the world. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. We're wrapping up today's show with a story that's been making headlines in the world of transportation. As you may have heard, the ongoing government shutdown has started to take its toll on air travel in the United States. Reports are emerging of significant flight delays and disruptions at airports across the country, all due to staffing shortages among air traffic controllers. Now, it's worth noting that these dedicated professionals are still showing up to work, despite not being paid, but the strain is beginning to show. According to officials from the National Air Traffic Controllers Association, many air traffic controllers were already working long hours, often 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. The shutdown has only added to their workload by furloughing safety support staff and suspending essential programs. Transportation Secretary Nick Daniels has been urging an end to the shutdown, stating that it's crucial for the Federal Aviation Administration and its employees to focus on their critical work without distractions. Meanwhile, air traffic controllers are warning that the situation is fragile and underscores the need for accelerated training and hiring to address the existing shortages. The impact of this shutdown could be far-reaching, with potential consequences for rural airports that rely on federal subsidies to operate. The Essential Air Service program, which supports commercial flights to these areas, may run out of funding as early as Sunday, leaving many communities without access to essential air travel services. Now, we want to hear from you. Have you been affected by the flight delays or disruptions? Share your stories and thoughts with us on social media using the hashtag #iConcreteBlock. We'll be keeping a close eye on this story and bringing you updates as more information becomes available. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay informed.